This is the story of 4 little headstones in the back of an old cemetery that isn't used anymore in Madison, New York. These are the Thomas kids, 2 brothers with their 2 sisters who were the children of Sarah and Samuel Thomas. The little monkeys with me are my 3 nieces who love old cemeteries as much as their Aunt Maggie, so we each picked one of their stones to clean. Sarah and Samuel had a lot of kids, 12 actually that we could find, having one almost every year between 1847 to 1863. But what's interesting are the names they picked for their children. The first to be born here was Henry. He was born in 1847, and he lived to be about 75 years old and is buried in Curtis, Nebraska. Next was Elisha in 1849, who was the first of these little stones to be placed here. His is the stone on the right. He died when he was 5 years, 5 months, and 5 days old. The next was a daughter named Anne Jeanette, born in 1850, but she died just 3 months after her brother Elisha and was the second stone to be placed here when she was 4 years old. Then came Samuel in 1851, who lived to be 44, dying in Decatur, Illinois. A very common practice in the 1800s was to name a new baby after one who had passed away. So when Elisha died in 1853, when Sarah was pregnant again, they named the new baby Elisha also. The second Elisha, who was a hotel keeper, died when he was 54 in 1908 in Hood River, Oregon, when he was trying to cross in front of a train that had just left the station. He was knocked unconscious and died from his injuries. Sticking with tradition, they named the next baby Anne Jeanette after her sister who was buried here. Unfortunately, this Anne Jeanette died too when she was just 2 years old. These are both of the Anne Jeanette's headstones. But her name is spelled slightly differently from her sister's with only 1 N in the beginning instead of 2. That could have been how they intended her name to be spelled, or it could have been a typo on her headstone. The next baby was Ella, born in 1856, then another son named George in 1858. His is the last of the 4 here, dying when he was 4 years old in 1862. Then came baby Flora and Clara and a 3rd daughter named Anne Jeanette. The last to be born was Parker in 1863, and he lived to the ripe old age of 98. By 1870, the remaining members of their family had moved to Illinois. Their mom, Sarah, is buried in Decatur, Illinois, but we couldn't find where their father, Samuel, ended up. There are no other Thomas family members buried in the cemetery, but at least they're here with each other. At the end, I'll show what they look like, just 3 months after we cleaned them, re-leveled them, and epoxied George's back together.